G'day, folks. How are we doing? It's an absolute pleasure to see everyone drinking whiskey tonight. And I am joined by, well, I say industry legend almost every single time I get to introduce someone, but the man to my side, that really does apply because Mr. Graeme Cruickshank here is responsible for pretty much every drop of Aberlour that you've ever tried. So, Graeme, how are you?
Seamus, good to see you again and good to see everybody out there in Australia. I hope you're enjoying your latest Aberlour 2012 vintage. So, yeah, it's fantastic to be online with you all again and share some news and some whiskey. It's always a pleasure.
It's always good to see you. We were, not to break the magic too much, but we were just speaking before we went live about Aberlour being, I think, one of the most frequent collaborators with the Whisky Club. We've been doing Aberlour releases for what feels like must be 7 or 8 years of the club's history, and it's not surprising because the juice just keeps getting better and better. And I mean, you've pulled out some tricks for us this time, haven't you, Graham?
We certainly have. We worked long and hard in our distilling heritage at Aberlour, as you know. Everything we are doing today has come from the past distillers. We've learned so much from them, and we continue that legacy to this day, just through careful management of the distillery and the production, the team members at the distillery they've all got that passion for distilling, and obviously how we look after our casks, our maturation process, all testament to the whiskies you see in the bottles.
Well, I mean, it's no surprise, and it's probably a great chance to remind the members, if you have any questions at all for Graham, please feel free to pop them in the comments. We've got a wonderful team behind the scenes who will be pulling out any curiosities. And I mean, what a great place to start for members watching along. Please sound off if you have visited Aberlour, because it really is one of the most picturesque distillery visits, and it feels like so much of that place goes into the bottle. What would you say, Graham, starting from the back, for anyone who's enjoying their first Aberlour right now, what makes Aberlour Aberlour?
I think the essence of the place, you touched on it there, the environment where we distill is absolutely, it's ideal for distillation. We're tucked away in the small sort of Rotary Glen, or the Glen of the Lower Burn. Small stream there feeding into the River Spey where we take our cooling water from. And just beyond there, we've got the Birkenbush springs that supply the fresh spring water into the distillery. And yeah, just that location for distilling, it's just ideal. I mean, people drive past the gate of Aberlour and sometimes don't realise there's a distillery there, you know.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on in that distillery, and the global reach of the product. And I always say, for a small town like Aberlour, we've got like 1,500 people live in the village. We've got Walker Shortbread at one end, and we've got Aberlour Whiskey at the other. It's 2 iconic brands in one little village in Scotland. It's amazing.
That is the quintessential Scotch experience, I think. And oh, look, if any members have any photos of going for that waterfall hike beside the distillery, I think that's just such a unique experience. And I remember bumping into some German backpackers years ago that were really, really interested in trying to swim in the water source for every distillery that they could stumble across. And there's a lot of naff water sources in that game. Aberlour is not one of them. That is a beautiful location, and even though I've definitely lost a boot getting stuck in the bogs behind the distillery, I like to think that boot has affected your mineral concentration in your water.
No, you're right. The Lynn Falls on the Lower Burn, it's like a setting in paradise, you know. Just to hear that water falling over the falls, and I've seen American tourists up there in January. Now you can imagine Scotland in January, we can get temperatures up to like -20, and just as you say, this desire to go and steep themselves in the water that feeds the distillery, it just defies logic. But yeah, they do it, and then they come out and enjoy a dram of Aberlour, and that makes it all good again, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, last time we spoke, I think Aberlour was they hadn't yet commenced what has been an enormous expansion. But the last time I got to see the distillery, there was some pretty serious works going on. And I think we're going to set a foundation for everyone who's drinking their whiskey, and we're going to set a foundation for anyone who's having their first single malt of Aberlour right now. But a little bit later down the track, I'll be very excited to dig into just what's changed about the distillery. But if we're on our foundations, we've got the place, and we've got a pretty impressive cask regimen. I mean, bourbon and sherry being used in fairly equal part. What as a distillery manager are you looking for in great casks, and what as a distillery manager are you looking for in great spirit?
Well, so first off, the new make spirit, which we essentially get 5 days to make at Aberlour, we put so much pride and care into, the elements. The malted barley we buy in from our local malting supplier, Chris Maltings down in Port Gordon, who we've worked with solely for the last 8 years. So that malted barley process starts right at the time of the sowing of the grain, right through to harvest time. We're in constant collaboration with the maltster. So we take great levels to make sure we're getting the finest malted barley into the distillery. Our water source is our water source, and we look after that by maintenance and looking after the quality of the water coming in, and also our selection of the fine yeasts we use. So that new make spirit, if I wasn't here this morning, I would be away assessing the new make spirit this morning. Of every drop that comes out of Aberlour, we assess the new make spirit. So, and that's paramount for ourselves at the distillery and for the blenders, Sandy and his team, to make sure that we're getting that consistent new make spirit.
There was a process that you shared not long ago, last we spoke, that I just fell in love with the idea of all of the master distillers and distillery managers assessing each other's new make spirits blind. And that sounds like a level of detail that I don't think enough attention gets given to in Scotch.
Yeah, so I say I can go down there today, and all the distilleries in the Shivers group, so the 12 malt distilleries, will be on the round table. There might be up to 10 samples from one of the bigger distilleries like Glenlivet, Dunman, etc. And I'll sit there with my peers, the other distillery managers, and we'll assess them all blind. And it's a really good indicator as to how the plant is performing, and we're maintaining that quality. There's some good banter because everybody wants to be that number one in the week. And invariably, I think Aberlour makes it pretty much every week.
Are you bribing people with shortbread on the side, though?
Well, we've actually got a collaboration. If you're ever coming to Aberlour, we're doing a wee collaboration with Walkers in the brand home, so you can taste whiskey and you can eat shortbread at the same time. So, an excellent visit to look forward to the next time you're in Scotland.
Oh man, sounds tough. I don't know. It's
And one other thing, it's not just the standard shortbread. Walkers have actually produced a jumbo, so you get value for your money and bang for your buck when you come to Aberlour. There you go.
That's fantastic. Limited edition whiskies with limited edition shortbreads.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying the spirit, that's the starting point and everything that goes into it, but then it's the cask regimen as well.
Yeah, well, we take so much pride in the cask we use. The steady supply of the ex-American oak cask coming across the pond there. We predominantly use first fill for Aberlour because it's one of the group single malts. And of course, our supply of ex-sherry casks from Bodega in Spain. And you've got to remember that every cask, before it gets filled, has to be organoleptically assessed to make sure that we're not going to pour really good new make spirit into a cask that might have went off. Because that could potentially ruin that run of whiskey in the maturation process. So yeah, they take great lengths to make sure that the casks are absolutely pristine before we fill that new make spirit. And then it's all down to the warehouse and the maturation, the climate, where they're sitting, and that monitoring process starts from like year 3 right through to 18-year-old. For Aberlour is our oldest expression at present. So Yeah, so that monitoring of the casks while they're maturing is so paramount as to how we call off that stocks when they're in the warehouse and produce the 12s, the 16s, and the 18s.
Yeah, now that's probably a side that I don't think gets a lot of attention in whiskey making, but there's a lot that goes just into cask assessment. And when you say they get assessed at 3, how thorough are the team there? Is every cask being sampled, or is it stylistic? Are we pulling each parcel of casks
Yeah.
and pulling a few?
Yeah, so the filling, so every tanker that leaves Aberlour distillery, there'll be 31,000 litres of bulk spirit in that tanker. And we're going to fill that into a range of casks. So those casks will be laid down as a parcel in the warehouse. And when they come to sampling, there'll be a range. It won't be every cask in the parcel. It'll be arranged throughout that parcel, just to assess how that whiskey is maturing in the maturation warehouse. So it's quite selective, but it works for us. When you get down to the Aberlour Abuna, so first fill or also sherry casks, we might sample like 150 sherry butts before we would decide on the next batch of Aberlour Abuna. And this is a sizable table in this room. That 150 samples could probably fill this table quite easily. It takes a good day, but it's a good day at work when you're losing Aberlour Abuna.
You've made no mysteries over the years that Abuna is one of your all-time favourites. We'll get into your top 3 a little bit later, but I'm seeing some amazing questions come through from the members talking about the climate and the water source and the renovations at the moment and whether we're addressing anything. So it might be a really good opportunity for us to take a pause on the whiskey that's coming out and jump back to what's changed about what's going in, because Aberlour has been through a pretty serious renovation, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we started the project of expanding the distillery 2022. We started with the first phase, which was the new effluent treatment plant for the site. The reason we did that was because the old effluent treatment plant had to be demolished to allow the expanded distillery to be built. But we're now, crikey, in the next few months, we will be looking at the commissioning of the new distillery, which is going to take it from 4 million litres of alcohol a year up to 8 million litres of alcohol a year.
Wow.
Like any other business, we're looking at the future. We're trying to be more environmentally friendly, trying to be more sustainable for the future. And that means using the most appropriate technology we can to save energy, to save our carbon footprint. So the new distillery is going to comprise of mechanical vapor recompression in the wash stills, which is going to drive our energy bills down by probably by a third. And then we're going to employ cooling water jackets in our washbacks. So that allows us to save water in the cooling element from the mash house to the turn room. So we can save on our water and preserve our water reserves for the future, because it's becoming more and more challenging. This has been a particularly dry year in Scotland. It's had a serious impact on how we distill in Scotland here. So, yes.
Yeah. There's some terrific questions on that specifically. I've got Andrew Cooper here. With the water being such a key ingredient in the production of Aberlour, are you worried about climate change impacting the flavour of the whiskey? And I'll extend that to also the sustainability of making whiskey the way you are.
Yeah, so to preserve our water at the distillery, as I say, we've mentioned the cooling water jackets, but there's various different tasks that we've been undertaken over the years with how we clean the stills, how we manage our water in the distillery. So everything in the distillery with regards to water is metered. So I would say about maybe 8 years ago, we installed all these meters to measure accurately how much water we're actually using. That allowed us then to go through a water savings project stream. so we could cut down on how we use our water. And that's still ongoing. We're always trying to refine that. The newest technologies we're employing in the new Aberlour with the new GEA mash tun, which is a full Lauter mash tun from Germany. Again, it's designed to help us save and be more water efficient in the future. Because, the question is so pertinent that we can see in Scotland here the rivers, the Spey, being at all-time lows, because there's been very little snow in the winter, very little rain throughout the year, and it's severely impact how we distill on Speyside.
Of course, and look, I mean, even driving around Scotland a few weeks ago, the barley was coming good pretty early. Has the heat of the summer affected it on the other side? Is it a bit tougher to get barley?
Yeah, well, I was reading a report at the weekend in the Scottish Farmer, and obviously they're into harvest now. With that long dry spell during the spring, the new plant couldn't get enough moisture to sustain growth, and it's meant that the tillers are smaller, the grains are smaller, and some of the second tillers are showing signs of shedding. So there's a lot of screenings. Typically, the screenings might be between 10 and 15%. Some of the farmers are saying the screenings are up as much as 30%, just because the barley can't sustain the husk, etc., and it's coming off early. So that reduces the farmer's yield in terms of weight, and when it goes to malting, then it's going to inhibit how that barley grain will malt, and then they're onto the distillery. So it could be a challenging year for us in distilling next year as well. So
I've got one last question on the modernisation of the distillery and the expansion of it. And it's from John Lawson, who uses the phrase modernisation in asking, with the updates to the distillery, was there any compromise or serious modernisation of the process, or is it kind of all refining and sharpening what you were always doing?
Yeah, well, we've got a legacy to uphold, and that was very, very at the forefront of our agenda when it came to expanding distilleries. We can't afford to lose how we produce Aberlour new make spirit. So there was a lot of care and attention put into the selection of the mash tun. The fermenters, we always use stainless steel washbacks at Aberlour, have done for generations. The new stills, we had to increase the size of the stills, but I was very, very careful in how we did that. So the new stills, from the top of the boiling point in the still to the condenser, are absolutely identical. We increased the capacity of the stills. So if you can imagine the pot of the still and the old flue sheets shaped like this, tapered, we've taken them out to increase the pot size at the bottom. So purely the volume in the pot is the increase in capacity of that still. Everything above the boil line is exactly the same. So we're maintaining that reflux element for the Aberlour as we're distilling. So a lot of careful consideration put into the design of the distillery in that front.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm excited to, I guess, now pivot us from everything that's at the start to everything that's at the finish, by cracking into a whiskey, and I'm going to be drinking cheekily from the indicative sample, because I don't want to break the seal on this, mostly because I know I can't get another one. So, members, I apologise. I will be drinking from this, but it is still 51 ABV. First fill only, wonderful Aberlour. Graeme, could you tell the members about the whiskey that brought us together today?
Well, 2012 vintage, produced in 2012. And if you think back to 2012, what was going on in 2012 in your life? I can remember the London Olympics in 2012.
Yeah, it's Graeme. I was graduating high school. I don't think we need to talk about that.
Well, it was a good year. It was a good year for Asturias. The Asturias went away with 55 medals. I was doing my research last night. And Scotland secured, I think it was 18 medals, but 3 of those medals was Andy Murray in tennis, and the other 2 gold medals was Sir Chris Hoy. So 2 knights of the realm securing it for Scotland. So And
it was Andy Murray's banner year.
yeah. And Aberlour, we were flying a flag for Scotch, of course, in 2012. I actually looked back on the production data for this 2012. And remember I mentioned Chris Maltings.
Yeah.
This was before the partnership we set up with Chris Maltings. So this was produced with malt from Boort Malt. We're also in Bucky beside Chris Maltings. And Boort Malt are now the predominant supplier for the Glenlivet distillery. So they're the single source that provides Glenlivet. That's why we don't deal with them. And this whiskey was produced with Concerto malted barley. So that was all in my archives last night when I was doing my research. So it spent 12 years in both type of casks, as you know. And this for me, really leaning towards the sort of sweet vanilla, creamy notes of the American oak. And then that soft berry, soft fruits, apricots, maybe a hint of blackcurrant in there, which we tend to find with Aberlour, a hint of that blackberries. Yeah, absolutely divine. And you say 51 ABV, but yes, it's so soft and sweet on the palate.
It's absolutely a friendly whiskey, isn't it? And it's that texture that just hits, doesn't it?
It's just got that. It grabs your palate. It grabs your palate and it delivers to you that sort of chocolatey toffee.
It is where you see the first fill sherry kind of come to play a lot more, is on the palate.
And it's a long finish as well. And the flavours, they do develop from that chocolate and that spice, that softer gingery sort of spice lingering about it. Absolutely divine. I think we did 2010 last year. Yeah.
About 18 months ago we did 2010, and that had some refill cast through it and a lot more American oak, I think. So it was a little brighter, a little more breakfast juice, a classic like quintessential Aberlour. I think this is a great example of what happens when we collaborate on making a whiskey together for the second time. We get to push the boundary a little further and go, what if we brought a bit of a burner about it with a higher ABV? What if we played with that first fill style a little more and showed what happened if you pushed Aberlour kind of to the limit? And I've got a wonderful question here. I must find it. Who sent it? I will attribute this in a second, but it was a terrific question, basically asking, here we go, Mariana, how does this whiskey, this 2012 vintage, vary from the standard 12-year-old at 40 ABV? What's different in the glass here?
Yeah, I think just the mix of casks, just slightly different. And as I said earlier, I think it is leaning towards, on the nose, you're getting that creamy vanilla, softer notes. But then it's got that sherry influence as well on the palate there, that chocolate and that gingery spices, that softer spices you expect from the sherry oak. Yeah. I think the normal 12-year-old is really fruity. It's on that red apples and fruity notes. A little bit of the sherry influence in the 12-year-old, but not so much as this one here. I think this is because it's predominantly the first fill sherry in here, giving you that much more of that sherry influence. So divine, absolutely divine.
There's a wonderful question here from Phil, asking the 2010, the 2012 vintage. We've done 48 ABV, showing off that real American oak and some of the refill influence. We've done the 2012 doing the first fill at 51 ABV. Do you see the core range of Aberlour heading in the direction of some of the exclusives you've created for the Whisky Club? Or is this something that's kind of a nice outlet for yourself and for Sandy and the blending team?
I think we like to showcase Aberlour in the range of strengths of whiskies. And I think there is certainly a passion for the higher ABVs among our fans. They like, we set the standard with Aberlour Abuna. It was always been cask strength. So people know how Aberlour can stack up as a cask strength whiskey. So as we head up through that ABV ranges, then you're getting more into towards the territory of of Aberlour and Buna, and what we're probably most famous for is that higher ABVs. Yeah, and
Well,
you
yeah.
clearly like it.
Well, I mean, on a Buna, and I've seen a few members ask this question, so I won't attribute it specifically to the person, but members always want to ask you what your favourite whiskey is, and I am tired of hearing you say Aberlour Buna. I know it's your favourite, so this time I'm going to ask you, what's your top three?
Oof. Okay, that's tough. Well, I'm actually sitting in here today. I'm in the Royal Salute room at Strathyla Distillery today.
Yeah.
I live in Keith, as you know, and I came down here to sit in here. Now, Strathyla have produced a 15-year-old whiskey recently, and I would say that's probably that's my number three.
Oh, he knows how to do a clickbait list. Starting at the bottom, we're at number three. Now, Graham, give us number two.
Number two, it's long been one of my held in highest regard, is a Glenlivet 18-year-old. Just
perfect whiskey.
It's just the ultimate Speyside single malt whiskey is the Glenlivet 18. I was first introduced to 12-year-old Glenlivet way back in the late 80s. And then I remember when they started to extend the range of Glenlivets, I was handed this dram of Glenlivet 18. Oh my goodness. It just took me away, just another place altogether. Yeah, so that's number two. And Aberlour Buna has got to be the number one. It was the first bottle to carry my name when we made me master distiller. And I loved it before then, and I still love it now. And yeah, it's always got a place dear in my heart. Yeah,
it's a wonderful whiskey, and I'm not surprised. And I mean, the old two things. One, a lesser man would have said the whiskey in front of you, so credit to you for not selling out and doing that. And two, the older Buna story is that is inspired by some very, very old whiskey found during renovations and wall knocking downs, if I remember correctly. Did you find anything crazy while you were renovating the distillery this time?
Well, we actually, in the front of the old distill house, there was the two date stones, which the old empty bottle, which with the myth took hold, it was full of sherry whiskey in there. We took out the date stone from the reconstruction in 1973, and there was a bottle of the Campbell Distillers White Heather and a newspaper from 1973 and some decimal coinage, all packaged in this time capsule in the old still house. So the story was White Heather. The old distiller was a guy called Arnold Campbell Distillers. Now, his daughter, Heather, still lives close by to Aberlour Distillery. And I know Heather. So when I saw this bottle, I immediately thought of her. And she told me the story. Well, the brand was named after myself. My dad named it White Heather after me. So that human element in that time capsule was so amazing. So we're laying down another time capsule. All the guys have signed a bottle of Aberlour Buna. We've taken some stories and pictures from around the distillery and current guys, and that's going to land in the time capsule with a hope that when it reaches 2079, which is the 200th anniversary, they can unearth the time capsule and enjoy a bottle of Buna from the year 2025. So.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I have one more question for you that none of the members have asked, even though I've been hoping they'll ask it the entire time. But I would reckon, judging by the tattoos I've seen down your arms, that you and I might share a common interest. Can we geek out about Star Wars for just 1 minute? Can you get the tattoos out?
Oh dear, I've not been asked this online. My goodness.
Have you not? Oh mate, no. Ever since I spied that tattoo the first time.
I was at dinner on Saturday night, and the mixologist came right across and he goes, "I love your Rebel Order."
Yeah, it is, Rebel Alliance.
The Jedi Order on the back
there. We go.
So, thanks for that, Seamus.
You're
Yeah.
very, very welcome. Bit of a Star Wars geek, are we?
I love my Star Wars. I've watched everything, all the movies, all the Disney Channel stuff. Yeah, I just love it. I'm just a young kid at heart, you know. Takes
Oh,
me back
mate.
to 1977. You know?
The feelings mutual. I think it defies age. Those films, they're absolute pearls. And I wouldn't be surprised if hundreds of our members shared a Star Wars tattoo with you. So, for the sake of some amazing photos being posted in the comments, members, if you have any Star Wars photos and tattoos that you want to get out and share, PC appropriate, of course. Please chuck them in. There'll be some amazing commentary. I've got one last whiskey question, and it's been asked by so many members, I couldn't drill it down to just one. But I think it's the question that gets asked of every distillery manager. If you weren't laying down in bourbon and sherry, what cask type would you love to lay Aberlour into?
Oh, good question. Aye. Well, there's so many different distilleries. They're using rum, they're using tequila, or the Japanese Mizunara. Yeah, I think Aberlour would be a good mix for the Mizunara oak. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
think so.
yeah, with that kind of American oak style
Yeah,
richness and then breakdown. Absolutely.
yeah.
And now to give you the real reason I asked an extra question was just to give Anthony McIlwain time to ask you a Star Wars question, which he's just done in the comments. What's your favorite Star Wars film?
Return of the Jedi. Love
Classic,
it.
classic.
Has to be. Yeah.
It's got to
Yeah.
be. It's
Yeah.
got to be. Look, I can't think of a better sentiment to go out on than sharing good films, because so often sharing a good whiskey is only talking about the whiskey about half the time, and I think we've achieved just that. Before I get into our sign off, Graham, is there anything you'd like to leave the members with from Aberlour?
Oh well, I told you earlier on. I've got my whiskey club glass here. This is my favourite whiskey drinking glass. I use it all the time at home, and yeah, it is a sublime. I love that cut glass, and I love the wee logo on there for the whiskey club. So thank you for sending this across to me. And all I'm going to say is, may the force be with you. Cheers.
Cheers, Graham.
Cheers.
I need to do the tiniest bit of housekeeping because we've had the members watching along, and I have to say, Matthew Ward, congratulations! You're a competition winner running along tonight. So the member experience team will be in touch, but thank you for getting in, enjoying the comments, and I believe we've sorted some whiskey for you, just for you. So massive credit to you. Now, from all of us, I can assure you that this is not the last time we'll be meeting with Graham, and we will grill him on more Star Wars questions in the future. Because there is always more whiskey being worked on. And in fact, hopefully Graham is going to check on some of that while he's visiting the lab next time for us. But in the meantime, I would like to say a massive cheers to everyone watching along. From all of us here at the Whisky Club, and Graham, a massive cheers to you as well for
Cheers.
joining us.
Take care.
Cheers. And may the
Anyway.
force be with you.